Hi, everybody. Welcome to Frontline Dispatches on Organizing Upgrade. We're a show dedicated to spotlighting the most urgent left organizing and activism happening around the country and beyond for racial and economic justice and much more. Stay tuned for future episodes of Frontline Dispatches. We come on every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern and at 6 p.m. Central Time, 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. My name is Xiomara Corpeño, and I'm today's host. And if you're watching on Facebook or YouTube, please ask us questions in the chats. We will be monitoring the chats and taking your questions for our guests today. And if you haven't yet, please give Organizing Upgrade a like and subscribe to this channel on YouTube. And finally, stay up to speed on all of the amazing content coming out of Organizing Upgrade. Sign up at our website to hear about upcoming events, videos, and articles about left strategy for organizers. So we're going to get into it now. My guests today are both organizing with the organization Living United for Change in Arizona. We all know them as LUCHA, which means struggle in Spanish. Welcome, Gina Mendez, who's the field director over at LUCHA, and Stephanie Maldonado, campaign director. Welcome to both of you. It's my pleasure to have you. We're going to get right into it. Arizona is in contention to deliver a historic defeat to Trump and the GOP. Yes, yes. And LUCHA is leading that amazing effort to get out 1 million voters to the polls. We want to hear from both of you. And, you know, in terms of organizing and strategy, how did we get here? So my first question, I'm going to throw it over to you, Stephanie. How did this happen that, hey, now Arizona's in contention? Most people consider Arizona a red state, tried and true. So how did we get to this moment? And how are things different this time compared to 2016?
Yes, well, thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited to be here. And I think it took 10 years in the making. Arizona has a long history of racist politicians with anti-immigrant rhetoric way before, we got to Donald Trump. And in 2010 we saw the passage of SB 1070, where a lot of organizations like LUCHA basically stemmed out of this moment of fear, I would say fear, anger, and yeah, mainly fear. It was a fight or flight situation. And 10 years ago, Arizona started building and organizing and registering people to vote, because 10 years ago, the legislative landscape, the state landscape, is nothing what it is today. So it has taken, I would say, 10 years to get where we are today, with the endless efforts of, coalition work like Arizona Wins, which is the C4 coalition we are a part of, right? Coming together and not only registering people to vote on the C3 side, but also knocking on voters' doors, having conversations, and driving people from, just being inactive voters to being activated voters. So over the last 10 years, we have seen the passage of Prop 206, which increased minimum wage. We have seen the defeat of Joe Arpaio in 2016, when Joe Arpaio was in office for over 20 years. So I would say what got us here today, where Arizona is a battleground state, has been the deep organizing, the deep investment, and the deep relationship building with our own communities by the young people that were in the streets marching back in 2010 when they were high school students, are now I would say they're the executive directors, they're the strategists behind this moment, and people like myself that came from being frustrated because my mom's status, started building and started organizing and got us to this moment where we are, of being able to be a deciding state in this huge election. So I'll stop there. But that's definitely, it's been 10 years in the making of getting to this point. And, it's taken a lot of work, but we're here and we're ready.
That's a great reminder, Stephanie, that there's no shortcuts in organizing. We have to do the tried and true work, and it doesn't happen overnight. And so thank you so much for sharing that. For those of us who are joining a little bit late, Frontline Dispatch is interviewing Gina Mendez and Stephanie Maldonado, both with LUCHA, on how they're poised to defeat Trump in Arizona in just in a week. I'm going to turn it over to you, Gina. Tell us about the strategies and tactics that you are all rolling out to take advantage of this political moment in your communities and taking communities a closer step into justice. And what traditional methods are you using? What creative methods, given that it's COVID and it's a different political climate, and you're also getting more young people out there? Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, I mean, what we're doing is what we know best. We know how to organize. We know how to build relationships in our communities, and we know what is important for us and our people. And so obviously COVID hit. We definitely had to make a few adjustments. But, having these conversations and speaking our truth and sharing our stories is really how we're able to really make sure that we're turning out voters to ensure that they participate in this year's election. And so that's never going to change. We know what is at risk for us, and we've been knowing how to organize. And so, we just got a different shields on to protect ourselves, to protect our community members, because we know that, whether we're having conversations with them over the phone or having conversations with them in person, we need to have those conversations, period. And so we're still doing a lot of the same thing, just making sure we have some different, materials that we're carrying with us to ensure the safety of ourselves and our canvassers, our teams.
That's great. Can you tell us a little bit more about how, who are the voters that you're targeting?
Yeah. I mean, we are targeting the voters, which means like our people, the new voters, the individuals who are brand new citizens. We're talking to women, to millennials, Gen Z. There's a lot of people that we're targeting, and most of all, we're out in the communities where we're from. We're out in South Phoenix. We're out in Maryville, out in South Tucson, and so just really talking to people out in the neighborhoods where we grew up in, and just making sure that our neighbors and our friends and our family members are voting, and they're aware and they have knowledge about what's happening and where to go and vote.
Great, thank you. And Arizona has always, I just saw Gerald Lenoir give us a shout out there that he's been out to Arizona. I have too. When some of the statewide anti-immigrant laws passed, we took one of the first undocu buses out there with some of our members to support folks in Arizona. And so, we know that it hasn't always been a safe state to even drive through. So Stephanie, I'm going to throw this question over to you. Organizers around the country have been facing threats in the election, right? So not just COVID, but, white supremacists, crazy people. And so what scenarios are you planning for, in terms of voter suppression, keeping your canvassers safe, as well as kind of post-election? We don't know what the results are. We're really betting on defeating Trump, but we want to be ready for everything. So give us a little bit of taste of what are you all planning for?
Yes, I mean, we are hoping for the best, but planning for the worst. And I think right now, a lot of what we have been doing is not only as an organization, but also as a coalition. We have come together to essentially create different scenarios and how to respond as organizations and as a state, not only to the messaging, the misinformation that community might hear, or the calling of elections early, but also the threats, right? The real threats that our people will pose at polling locations, in the field, or even simply post-election going to the grocery store. Some of the things that we have prepared for is having a really deep emergency plan, backup plan, emergency communication, and being able to just understand what is happening on the ground and how to respond, not only as an organization, but having the different partners work with us to respond to what already we've seen at the polls. For example, we have early voting in Arizona, and we've had some sheriffs and police armed at polling locations, and there has been rapid response to report that up to the elections protections table, and being able to create direct I would say, direct communication to the county recorder, secretary of state, to really ask the questions is, why are we terrorizing our communities when they're going to vote, instead of really encouraging people to show up and vote? So I would say that, yeah, just being prepared, having different scenarios, being able to stay in direct communication with our canvassers, with our teams, with our community, and just being able to come out up front and be able to provide our community with the resources that might be needed during and post-election in different situations. So I would say that those have been the steps we've been taking. And we know that, we just don't know what to expect. So we are planning for a little bit of everything. Another way we have been preparing is also, we are running hybrid programs across the state. So not all of our efforts are in the field knocking. We have, I would say, like a 60-40. 60% of the folks are doing from home, phone banking, voter turnout, calling voters and getting them to the polls. And then the other, I would say less than half of our teams are in the field knocking on doors. So that also allows us to have a more controlled effort of knowing where people are at, knowing where they're going to be knocking, and also knowing how to communicate with them directly, since right now we are under this pandemic, so we are also being cautious to also the health of our folks. So yeah, those are some of the ways. But yeah, let's see what goes down on Tuesday.
You talked about early voting. Can you tell us, how are you helping voters get to the polls? I know that you all have a protocol around keeping canvassers as well as voters safe as you're doing the door knocking. I imagine there's a lot of rural places in Arizona. I've been there a lot of times. And so how are you helping voters get to the poll for early voting and on election day?
Yeah, so we have, for LUCHA, we are doing this year, because of COVID and because of the safety of our people, we are going to be opting out of doing rides to the polls. So we have gotten a lot of resources from different national organizations, and also, for example, Uber does or Lyft does free rides to the polls. So providing our community the information if they do need a ride to the poll, providing them the resources that already are in place to get them to and from their home to the polls. And then for what we've been doing is, yesterday was the last day. We were communicating out to voters to put their ballots in the mailbox. So starting today, the messaging is show up to an early vote center to drop off your early ballot if you have it in hand. So what we do over the phone and at the doors, we walk people through the process, creating really detailed vote plans with them, giving them the resources of where an early vote center is. If they want to show up and vote early, where can they show up and drop off their ballot? And what are some ride options if they are like, well, I don't have a ride to get to this polling location, or I don't have transportation. So providing them free resources where they can request a ride to the early polls, or show up on election day to cast their vote or drop off their early ballot, since now we are advising folks not to mail it back, to drop it off in person. Right. So it gets counted on time. It gets there on time and it gets counted.
Right. This taking this question over to Gina, but both of you can have at it too. You mentioned hey, we're really relying on national and local partners to make this. So, this does not happen alone. No one organization can get this work done. That's important, I think, for our viewers to remember as we're doing this type of work. And so, local unions like Unite Here, I know, are part of the larger coalition that you all are participating in. There's the Seed the Vote, which is based out of Northern California, has been important to support your efforts. So tell us, how can, let's say I'm here in California, it's gonna go blue, great. So how can people like me or who live nearby help, right? Can they phone bank with you all? Can they head to Arizona? Is that advisable? Tell us a little bit more about how we can help you all out.
Yeah, and actually, I'm so thankful from all of the folks who have been coming out to volunteer with us, especially with See the Vote. I'm originally from Northern California, and just getting to have conversations with them and, really discussing the importance of this election has been, awesome. But there's different ways that people can come in to support our efforts and the work that we're doing. Literally, like we have phone banks every day. We do trainings every day, and it's super easy. There's a link that folks can literally log into and then sign up, and then we will contact you. That way we can follow up with you in regards to the training. But also we have shifts going out, from here all the way until election day. And so we're having multiple trainings. That way, if folks, want to come to our organization, whether you're out in Phoenix, or if you want to go to Flagstaff, or if you want to go to Tucson, we need help everywhere in this, in this moment. And so folks can literally come down and to any of our offices and, get set up with some training and make sure that, they're able to participate, whether it's them knocking on doors or talking to voters over the phone.
Thank you. I want to encourage our viewers today to make sure to put your questions or comments in the chat so that our guests could answer them. And then also let folks know that the link to sign up is right there. It's Linktree /final week. So that's where you can sign up, and you can sign up either to do it from home, from, in California or Nevada or wherever you are, and also to sign up to go in person and support if, your bandwidth allows for that. So we want to encourage people to do that. So I want to go back to maybe to tell us about what have been some of like the moments of joy. You all have been working hard, spending, I'm sure trying to balance family, trying to get the vote out, being present for our community. So tell us about what are some of the moments of joy that you have felt with your community as you've been doing this. You've been going hard for over 6 months. I feel like you were getting prepped hard in the primaries and hard now. So tell us about what are those moments of joys that you've been finding?
Yeah, so I would say I've been on the campaign trail since January. So definitely, I think for myself and also for our team, where we've been able to find, and I'll definitely let Gina, because Gina's more, direct communication with our field leads and teams and folks on the phone. But I would say the way that we have found pockets of joy is by just being able to stay authentic and celebrate and ground ourselves in why this fight, why did we start this this campaign? Why did we decide to continue going in a middle, during a global pandemic? And how were we going to push ourselves even harder, knowing that we were in a pandemic where we saw no proactiveness from our elected officials? And I think that by coming together, creating spaces, reminding ourselves, and celebrating, even if it's virtually, I think we've been able to find joy. Like the song of Orquesta Mendoza that they did for Lucha, that song was so beautiful, and it just made us remind ourselves that, this fight is beyond knocking on the doors, and it's beyond the calls. There's people across the country who are rooting for us, who have our backs and have showed up for us. And I think those, that song, the celebration, and recently we've been having folks come out of state and also from in-state. This past weekend, we had paletas and yard sign drop-offs. People went out to northern Arizona and knocked on doors, bringing people together in the safest way possible has definitely grounded our folks and really reminded ourselves what this is about. And it's about our people, it's about us, and it's about the young people that are right now knocking on doors and calling voters. So yeah, I'm going to pass it over to Gina to share as well.
Yeah, and I mean, one of the things that when Stephanie and I began this campaign was we talked about those moments. What would it look like after the campaign? What is this going to what is going to make this campaign successful. And there's so many things that have happened, so many stories, and just seeing people even like from the time that they started to where they're at now has just been really empowering. Some of the folks that are part of our team, are a lot of high school students and a lot of college students, some individuals, who had no idea about the importance they had no idea in regards to some of the parties and some of that information, and just seeing them grow and be politicized in this moment and sharing their stories and just being authentic to themselves, and making sure that they're having conversations with community members. There's so many stories amongst that. Just the other day, I know one of our canvassers was talking to someone on the phone, and I know, like, when people, just think about it. This year's election, there's been so many people who've been texting us, who have been calling us, and one individual that our canvasser was talking to, answered the phone and was like, really, like, oh my God, who is it now, right? And so what happened in the conversation, the voter was, just really hesitant of like, no, like, I don't have time right now. Like, this is not important. And so our canvasser then showed a story and was like, hey, it is important. I'm part of the LGBTQ community, and, there's so much at risk for me right now. And I want to have this conversation with you because it is important for me and my community, because we can't have Donald Trump in office again. And then, the individual on the phone, immediately changed their tone and was like, oh my God, like, I'm sorry. I actually had an experience a week ago. I was being bullied. And, that individual is transgender and, was in an incident where they had, been assaulted. And so just being able to share like each other's importance of why, this is important for everyone to participate, and just, that little conversation was able to like ensure that that individual was able to vote, and it all started off by just by sharing the story, and then, making a vote plan. But even out in the street, when we're talking to voters, there's a señora who had been waiting for someone to come in and knock on her door. And so she knows during elections that, when people come and knock on her door, they can definitely help her out because, she has so many different questions. And just having one of our canvassers knock on her door, she said, I was expecting you all to come in and help me. I've been waiting for you all this entire time because I don't know what's on the ballot. And so just hearing like different like powerful stories in the community, and just like different ways that our canvassers have been showing up, has brought a lot of joy to the folks on our campaign.
Yeah, I think the work that you're all sharing is just a testament to why it's been so important over the last 20 years to build independent political power. The campaigns, they just give you a script, tell the person to go vote, and the people actually don't even know like why they're voting or why they're convincing other people to vote. And I feel like that personal touch of getting community members to do the calling, personally affected, share their story, and that really connects to voters, especially the voters that aren't the always voters, the ones who are more hesitant or not sure if they can vote or feel overwhelmed by the process. So those are some really great stories. We do have a question from one of our viewers, and Gerald, I love you so much. He wants to know, are you involved in the Senate race, and how is that looking? Are you all doing in-state races too?
Yeah, so we are doing Mark Kelly and Martha McSally. That is a very, for us, as apart from the presidential, it is very crucial that we flip the Senate. So we have been knocking on doors, talking to voters about Mark Kelly. And I think how it's looking right now is based on our universe and the people we are talking to. We are about, let me get the numbers. We're about 7 points up for Mark Kelly. So that Senate race is looking pretty good. But we also know that we also know that Republicans started mailing their ballots. They were kind of like slow, and they've been coming in strong these last few days. So it's going to be super crucial for us to continue talking to our voters and getting them out to cast their vote. But yes, we are talking to voters about Mark Kelly, and also we have targeted legislative districts where we are talking about either the House or the state Senate. And then we are also talking across the state about Proposition 208, which is the Invest in Ed proposition. So those are some of the, apart from the presidential race, other races that we are watching. And every county is different based on the legislative district. There's some counties that, already, or I would say legislative districts where we're not IDing for state and House, but there's other, like for example, out in Flagstaff, LD6, we are IDing for the local races.
Well, we know that election day is coming on Tuesday. We may or may not have results Tuesday night, we're going to win. But regardless of the outcome of the presidential election, we know that LUCHA is here to stay. So would you mind sharing a little bit like what comes after the elections? What are the longer term goals that you are working at? I'm sure like most organizations on the ground, you already have a plan for January in terms of what you're going to be pushing for. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so we're going to keep organizing. We're going to keep talking to our people. We're going to keep, our plan is to post-election, go back to all of our members, back with all of our community, inform and educate what happens in the election. If we have quick results, we'll be able to provide one piece of, I would say, education. But if, it takes like in 2018, where it took about 10 days to get through counting all of the ballots. We want to keep our community up to date and well informed on what's going on. But beyond this year, LUCHA is going to continue fighting for the people's budget. We call it, we're envisioning what does it look like fighting for a state and local budget that envisions and really captures our people and the needs of our community members. So we are going to be fighting for our people's budget. We're going to continue advocating and being at the Capitol, showing up, holding the individuals we elected accountable. We're going to continue having our LUCHA listens, where we engage community, we have conversations, and we organize our community into the different spaces and just keep building people and political power.
Thank you so much. As we close up, is there any final thoughts that you feel like, hey, you really want the viewers to know or to do here in the last 6 days before Election Day?
Yes, so join us. I mean, we have 6 days to make history, y'all, and every single phone call will matter. Every single door knock will matter. So even if you're like, Xiomara mentioned earlier, if you're not in Arizona, we have links where people can sign up. They can join our phone banks. If you have friends or family who live out here in Arizona, text them, remind them to either drop off their ballot or show up to vote. And yeah, just showing up and joining us and, visiting our Facebook page so you all can learn more about LUCHA and how, this LUCHA blue wave is coming in Arizona, and we're ready for it. So thank you so much.
Gina, any final words?
I'm just happy that, we were able to do this under a pandemic. We have a lot of bold individuals who are part of our team, and them even using like TikTok and social media to like ensure that voters are turning out is just powerful. And so, thinking of just different ideas that we can implement, that's awesome. We know that there's a lot at risk for us in our communities, and, we know that we've been pushing. And so expectations are that, we do have a lot of great outcomes. So
great. I want to thank you both for being with us. I know you're extremely busy working up to the election. I want to wish you lots of rest and sleep and victory after Tuesday. So thank you so much for what you're doing. And for our viewers, if you are watching this, or share it so that people can sign up and join these amazing organizers in Arizona, either by phone or in person. And if you enjoyed this video to our audience, please stay up to speed with all of the amazing content coming out of Organizing Upgrade. Sign up at our website to hear more about upcoming events, videos, and articles about left strategy for organizers. We're not just focusing on the election. We're looking at labor rights. We're looking at immigrant rights and what's happening in our country. So we want to just thank everybody for joining us. Please join us next week, same day, Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central, and 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And it will be the day after the election, so we should have a great, exciting show. Thank you so much. Have a great night.